Are you a private practice owner looking to get new patient leads on autopilot, freeing up your time to do the things in life you really want to do? I'm Christine Walker, and on this podcast, I share how I've grown my own practice and hundreds of others by generating patients on demand, getting business owners out of the treatment room, taking better care of themselves, and spending more time with their families. If you'd like to chat about how we can get you new patients on autopilot from your website, then visit freewebsitecall.com. But for now, let's dive into today's episode.
The last call, I believe it was last week, I actually said the doomsday words of, I wonder if Google has made a major update that we haven't realized yet, because they don't ever announce them, right? It is literally like they happen and then things start happening on the internet and then people start talking and then they realize what's going on. And then I think Google still to this date, to my knowledge, has not actually confirmed they've done anything unless that's changed in the last short while. They've not actually confirmed they've done anything, but it's very, very clear they have done something. So they basically have done the biggest update to their platform from an organic standpoint, their organic platform. Now, I say not their ads platform, but I want to be very clear that ads can be affected by what goes on the organic platform. Okay. So even though these weren't a direct change to anything on Google ads, ads can be impacted. And Google basically made the largest change in the last decade to their Google search engine ranking side. Biggest, most massive update in a decade. They rolled it out over a period of about 8 to 9 days. So different people started seeing effects at different times. And there's good news and bad news that comes with it. The bad news is the changes that have been made are made. There's literally no way to undo them. Does that make sense? Like Google has put in new rules, new highway, new game. They've changed the rules on us mid-game. Okay. They have the power to do this, right? They have the power to do it, just like the government has the power to tell me to wear, well, that's a bad example. Government has the power to tell me to wear a mask. Literally imagine the government sewed a mask to your face. Like that's where we're at here. They have that sort of power. They have more power, you could argue, maybe than our government does. I don't know. I don't want to get philosophical here. My point is there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing that was done that, like nothing that you did wrong. To be clear, nothing we did wrong. The entire world is affected by this, some to bigger degrees than others. Talking to a lot of vendors, apparently I've talked to a lot of people in the SEO world about this. It looks like our sites, looking at the data, have been impacted significantly less than everybody else's. So that's the really good news, is that we had a lot of other, like we were playing the Google rules in a lot of ways, that even though they changed one rule, we didn't get knocked like across the board everywhere. Whereas there are plenty of companies that were only playing by a few of Google's rules, and that's what was keeping them ranked well. And they've just been like, they're just like gone off the rankings practically. So the good news is the impact was less severe. Some people didn't feel it at all. The people who felt it the very, very most had two things going on. They're in a big city, or they were doing things and trying to rank in cities that they did not have their postal address in. Okay. So to be very clear, what happened is Google got very targeted from a geographical location standpoint. And what that meant is if you're in a big city, all of a sudden they were allowing less competition for each area. So like you might have ranked really well, like right where you were, and maybe you were also ranking well, like 10 miles away, but now it's like, just because you're 10 miles away, like it just became exponentially harder for you to rank. They really like slimmed it down from like, we will feature this many businesses to a much smaller number. Now they had already done that. Remember, they'd actually maybe, if we'd been like, if you think about it, they'd kind of already told us they were doing this. Why? How many things show up on a map? They only feature 3, right? But that didn't used to, like search engine wise, like on the results, it used to favor more than 3 businesses. Now it once again, it makes it even more imperative you're in the top 3 from a search engine results. Like that becomes even more of a big deal. Basically, if you were doing SEO on your own before, they practically forced your hand to be like, nope, you've got to be doing big time SEO for this to work. What does that mean? Good news though, if you're already in our SEO program, that means we're already on all that. And a lot of our numbers, I just got the rankings for the last 2 weeks. A lot of our numbers were not very negatively impacted, which means that's good. We can still keep heading the right direction. The keywords that were impacted the most were keywords that weren't related to a city or location. Okay. So the keywords that got impacted the most were things like physical therapy versus the things that did not get impacted as much were physical therapy near me, physical therapy nearby, physical therapy Oakland, physical therapy Charlotte, physical therapy Asheville, right? Those didn't get as impacted most. They basically made it so that geography matters significantly more now in the rankings. Now that's bad for somebody like one of our clients who apparently lives in one small town that is literally a blip with one stoplight. And now we're not doing SEO for them, but like they were a blip and they were ranking well for the city a few miles away, but their post office address isn't that city. And it can't be. Like there's no legal way to make their post office address that unless they actually physically move. And so they want to rank for the city a few miles away, but that city alone already has like 6 to 8 clinics and they technically don't even have an address in that city. Google's now made it pretty impossible for that to happen from an SEO strategy. Why are they doing this? Anybody figure it out? All right. It's always about the money. Give you an example. How many years ago was it? Maybe 3, 4? You could do Facebook groups, right? For your business listing on Facebook. Remember? And you used to be able to post on your business Facebook and you'd get like hundreds, maybe thousands of engagements. And then all of a sudden, overnight, one night, a year or two ago, boom, you post something on your Facebook business page, you got like 15 people saw it. Why? They realized they were giving you free advertising. They wanted you to pay. So they basically forced a lot of people to say, oh, your Facebook business page isn't going to actually get you traffic anymore. If you want that, you got to pay for our ads. So what are they trying to do here? They're trying to make the business owners who aren't smart enough or the ones who don't want to get help for it just pay for Google ads to show up. Now, why is that not a solution though? Remember, still historically, right now in the last year, only 15% of people click on the Google ads. So they're basically trying to force you into 15% of the market and make them pay money to show up. It's a business move on their part. But if you do that and you only do that alone, you're still missing 85% of the people you could be reaching. That's not a good number. Like, I don't want to be missing 85%. That's a huge number, right? So what does that come down to? The people in our SEO program, like, we've got the team on it. They've been researching all this. They've already been working on it. They've been monitoring your numbers. We're doing literally everything possible. For anybody who's not in the SEO program, and if you saw a significant drop in your traffic here in October, or if you see it once you look at your reports, this is why, and it might emphasize the fact that whatever you've been doing is no longer going to be enough anymore. Once again, Google's trying to force your hand to pay them ad money, but don't bite, here's the good news. What are a lot of your competitors going to do? That's what they're going to do. But they're still only going to be going after then the 15%. Let's go after the 85% for you guys. That's the pie I want. The good news is it's going to open up opportunities for us to legitimately rank better. And it's only going to be the people who really know what they're doing that are going to get up there. So it's actually an opportunity. It's actually, in a weird way, it's kind of good news for you guys because it's going to open some doors for us now. But we got to stay on it. And of course, we're going to keep researching. Like I said, Google doesn't, unfortunately, give us this like 300-page document telling us all the algorithm changes. It is literally a test, trial, learn from other people, keep up with the market. So we're going to be doing that so that we just like everybody, everybody else who's like sticking to their guns. But a lot of people are going to jump ship on it. Fine by me. Open the door for me, for you guys. Like I said, it's the biggest organic change in 10 years. We're probably due for a Google Ads change eventually at some point too. Back in like the mid to late 2000s. I don't know if y'all know much of the history of all this, but like it used to be super cheap. I mean, like easily under $1 for every keyword you're trying to rank for. Back in the 2000s, like dirt cheap, not just like an inflation thing, like just dirt cheap. And then overnight, Google like upped the price essentially, and literally took thousands, maybe even millions of like startup entrepreneurs virtually like out of the game because they couldn't afford those prices for the products they were selling on the back end of their ads. Does that make sense? Like if you were selling something cheaper and you really needed that cost per click to be under $1, and you know, you get 100 of those and then this percentage by your $50 product, et cetera, like overnight, you're losing money on Google Ads because they just did this. Okay. Unfortunately, they don't have to play, you know, they don't have to play nice. Facebook did something similar the last 5 years. You saw prices jump on that too, right? And part of it is natural competition. Like more people join it, it's going to get more expensive, et cetera. But there have been distinct moments in history where they make these really big changes. But it's the people that get afraid of them and run from them the opposite direction that end up floundering. We know what we know works. We know we can still get you there. Let's take advantage of everybody fleeing the other way and let's press back on.
All right, Patient on Demand listeners, thank you for tuning into this really, really important Google update. If you find yourself in a position where it is hurting you and you're not sure what to do next, then it is time that we chat because this is a major update. Something, like I said at the beginning, not something you're going to see reversed, something you're going to have to adapt to and make changes. And I know it's really tough to face when what you've been doing all along all of a sudden just stops working. But it's like being in a game of Monopoly and all of a sudden Monopoly just changed the rules on you mid-game. That's why we're here. We're here to help keep you up to date on things like this and to help you out along the way when the dirty old snake comes and bites you in the foot like Google did this time. So reach out to us. You can go to ptwebsitesecrets.com/strategy. We can talk about your current situation and how to help remedy it given all these new Google changes. Don't be left behind. Like I said, there's an amazing amount of opportunity here because a lot of people are just going to jump ship and think it's too hard and I quit. Or they're going to blame a lot of things that aren't actually to blame. Like they're going to blame their website all of a sudden, or they're going to blame whatever they've been doing in the past, or even they're going to blame themselves. And I'm telling you right now, that's not all necessary. And this is a new reality we are all living in. So let us help you walk through it. Go to ptwebsitesecrets.com/strategy. And we'll be back next week with another episode. Hopefully not another crazy update about Google. Like I said, it's been a decade. It'd be nice if they give us another decade off, wouldn't it? All right. Have a good time. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Patients on Demand. Do you have a question that you'd like me to answer raw and uncut on the podcast? All you need to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and do 3 simple things. Leave a rating and review telling me what you think of the podcast. In that review, ask anything you want about getting new patients or growing your practice. And if you want a shout out, leave your Instagram and name. Then listen in to hear your questions answered live, raw and uncut. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next episode of Patients on Demand.